But as far as the committee's poll is concerned, this just kind of lays out what has to happen over the next, basically the next 5 weeks until we see the poll that will set up the first 12-team playoff. So, any idea what you think you may see today? We were kicking around, what do you do with Tennessee against Penn State? Or do you worry too much about like one spot in the top 12 right now, considering there's so much football left to play?
I know folks are worrying about it. My stance is we've still got a lot to negotiate. But, for example, you just mentioned Tennessee. Tennessee at 10-2, assuming they lose at Georgia, which I'm pretty sure they will. Still got to beat Vanderbilt, too, which is not what you would anticipate it being. I'm not sure. I think they're about 50-50. There's going to be some 10-2 teams that get their feelings hurt. Now, every year we're going to have feelings hurt. But this year, we're not used to the 12-teamer. So that's likely to happen. Tennessee fans are already paranoid. What if Alabama goes 10-2, which means they beat LSU on the road, means they beat Georgia, gets in ahead of Tennessee 10-2. Tennessee beat them head-to-head. That could happen.
Hey, Bill, we had a tough one on the Hill this last week up here for Arkansas fans. Ole Miss came in and kind of smacked us around. We never really, we were kind of like Chris Rock and they were Will Smith. We never really had a chance. But going forward, like we got a lot of people were kind of emotional, I guess, looking at it. But we get a bye week. You get 3 games, Texas, La Tech, Missouri. You find a way, let's say you win La Tech, Missouri, then win your bowl game. You could finish this season with a 3-game win streak. Going forward, give us some solace. Give us some comfort with this Arkansas program going forward for the rest of the year.
I really think that they have found solid footing, is what it looks like right now. This is a much improved team. They got what Ole Miss ought to be when Ole Miss plays their A game. That's what they got. South Carolina game on the road was close to that. Ole Miss controlled them, didn't score as many points, but they controlled that game up front. And that's the misfortune that Arkansas had there. You got all those transfers and all that talent. You got their very best, and that's part of it. No, I think that is something to build on in recruiting and obviously receiving talent in the transfer portal. I think that is a very positive outcome.
Well, it did look to me like Ole Miss played like they had more at stake.
Like their backs are against the wall.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't want to put it in terms of that the Hogs just took their foot off the pedal, but I had a sense that a win over Mississippi State means you're going to go to a bowl game. Ole Miss has other aspirations, and they've been very public about it. And to me, they played like a team that knows they got to win every game they have left.
No question. No question. And can't afford to look ahead. You're going to Fayetteville. You can't look ahead to Georgia, which is coming up for them. And they're a slight underdog in that matchup. But, yes, you can ill afford another loss. That will take what I consider the best Ole Miss roster I've seen in my lifetime and underachieving with it if they go 9-3.
What a big game. I don't know if what Kirby Smart defense is going to show up. If I still think Jackson Dart will turn it over if you put pressure on him. Phil had brought up that Carson Beck has been turning the ball over the last couple games. I think it could be one of those games where you're going to have to score 40 points to win. How do you see Ole Miss? You give them any type of puncher's chance this week against Georgia?
If Georgia's not on their game, if Georgia comes out and they play like Texas, I don't think Ole Miss wins. Georgia is what they're doing this year is not new. I know a couple of years ago, before Missouri had the 10-win record a year ago, I believe it was in 22. They went up to Missouri. Played a very bad team and were in trouble in the fourth quarter. I've seen them do this, and they'll play down to opponents. They won't lose those games, but they'll play down to far inferior opponents, and then everybody assumes something's wrong, and then they play somebody highly ranked and they whoop them. You have to be really careful with them. They don't really care about style points. They don't need them. And they do try and play liberally a whole lot of players, particularly in the trenches and on defense. But I think they've got they got a puncher's chance. And They're a little banged up at safety, Georgia, which is a mild concern. And Carson Beck, guys, has thrown 6 picks in the last 2 games. He threw in the dominating win over Texas there, he threw 3. And then last week he threw 3 down in Gainesville. He is, the look in his eyes right now when things aren't going right is one of discomfort and fear. And I don't mean pain like physically. He looks like a guy whose confidence is very shaky at times.
And that's what makes this Ole Miss team this year so much different than any of the other teams that we've seen. You've even said, I mean, you think it's the best team they've ever had, at least personnel-wise. This is a defense that can flat out play. I mean, I thought Kiffin was brilliant going for it on 4th and goal at the 1 in the first quarter because he knew full well that if they didn't make it, that it's Arkansas at the 1 and his pass rush is going to get after them, which is exactly what they did. I could see a scenario where Ole Miss, somehow gets to Carson Beck on Georgia's territory, turns that into a short field, turns that into some points. I think it's a scenario that's very much in play. What's the situation with the Georgia offensive line? Have they struggled? Have they been good this year? Is that one of the reasons why Beck may be throwing some of these INTs?
They were bringing in tackle after tackle upon graduation, and he'd be a high draft pick. Right now, they don't have those 2 tackles on that level. They're good. Their best lineman is Tate Ratledge, who is a guard, and he's been hurt. Now, he's playing now, but he had been out for a long stretch. That had been a problem. And, guys, not that I'm going to be a brilliant football mind here, but you can't replace Brock Bowers. You just can't. And Ladd McConkey was vastly underrated. We all know how good he was. They're not real attractive by standards we would hold them now. Keep that in mind. At the receiving positions, they're good at running back with Etienne and Frazier. Frazier's a freshman. And again, the quarterback situation is consistently right now inconsistent.
Bill, there's a huge one coming up. I think one of these 2 teams are going to be a playoff 12. I don't know which one, and I'm interested to see what the committee has, Alabama, LSU, where they start this evening. But they're both coming off a bye week. Both of them are going to be favored after this week in their next 3 games. They're both going to be favored. Who are you riding with? Which one of these, when it's said and done, Alabama or LSU's in the playoff 12?
Guys, you're going to watch an elimination game. The loser is out. That's it. It would take a November that we couldn't even imagine or predict for one of them to recover from this as far as playoff appearance would be concerned. I'm playing mental gymnastics with this one. I would typically like Alabama here. This Alabama team is a little bipolar. I don't know what they're doing offensively with Milroe in the first half. They're not running. Now, in the second half, they run him. I don't know if that's a plan. I'm not sure, but you have to take advantage of what might be the best running back in the country in Jalen Milroe, the quarterback. And they're not doing that in the first half of the game, which would loosen up the passing game. I notice this every game, and it irritates me, and I've never gotten a clear answer on it. And I don't know if they're trying to preserve him and pace him or what, but that's something I've got to see. And LSU's defense, which had been playing well, we all know fell apart at A&M. So now we're a little bit more concerned than maybe we were the last couple of weeks.
Bill, let's leave it there. Okay. Enjoy the election coverage, and if you do watch this playoff show tonight as well. But like you said, it just kind of lays out what the games mean over the next few weeks.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL to entertainment and political props. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here.